All right, give me 1 second. We're just waiting for the YouTube to load. Okay, we're live on YouTube. We're ready to go.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It is 10 o'clock. And this morning on February 23rd, Thursday, and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee. Before we begin, please note this meeting is live streamed. As Amaret mentioned, we're on YouTube and being recorded. Members of the public are encouraged to watch and listen to the meeting online or by dialing into 415-569-6446 for the audio of this meeting. If you would like to provide public comment at today's meeting and you've not already done so, again, please call 415-569-6446 and let the facilitator know what items you would like to speak on today. Madam Secretary, would you please begin by calling the roll?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone again. We're going to start with Director Cochran.
Here.
Thank you. Director Conroy is absent. Director Parr.
Present.
Director Rabbit.
Here.
Thank you. Director Thier. Director Thier.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chair Maston.
Here.
Chair Garbarino.
Here.
And President Tirio.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum, and you're also a committee of the whole on this Zoom. We also have directors Giudice, Grosboll, Hernandez, Rodoni, then Snyder, and where's Vice President Hill? Second Vice President Hill. Sorry, I just elevated you. Then I'm going to confirm staff on the line. That's Dennis Mulligan first.
Here.
Joe Wire.
Yes.
Eva Bauer-Furbish.
Present.
Thank you. Kim Manolius.
Good morning.
Thank you. Madeline Chen.
Morning.
Thank you. Mona Babauta.
Present.
I thought I'd shake it up. Dave Rivera.
Good morning, President.
Thank you. And Kelly Hopper. Is Kelly back with us? Not yet. Okay. Oh, there she is. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, I'm here.
Thank you. That confirms staff on the line.
Thank you. I would like to now remind everyone to mute, as I just did, their microphones, not my microphone, but my cell phone, until after staff's presentation. And remember to unmute when we open up for directors' discussion. We have directors joining us by phone. Please use your mute button or *6 to unmute yourself. After staff's presentation, I will be asking for any questions or comments on that particular item. Click on the raised hand function if you have a question, or press *9 if joining by phone. If there are any questions, the secretary or I will call on you accordingly. If we miss your raised hand, please do speak up. After our discussion, we will ask for any public comment before moving on. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located in the bottom right-hand corner of your meeting packet. We will begin with agenda item number 3, which is to approve actions relative to award of contract number 2022B-084, Suicide Deterrent System Rescue Training Net, to Valentine Corporation. The staff report begins on page 3, and District Engineer Eva Bauer-Furbish is here to present the report. Eva, please begin.
Thank you, Chair Garbarino. So district is currently proceeding with the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge physical suicide deterrent system. And this project involves construction of a horizontal stainless steel net system located approximately 20 feet below the bridge sidewalks on the outside face of trusses of the various structures of the bridge. And the net also is extended out by about 20 feet. The effectiveness of the suicide deterrent horizontal net system has been confirmed by drastic reductions of suicide attempts at facilities where such nets are installed currently. However, considering that there have been few reported incidents of people jumping onto the nets despite the risk of injury, it is important to have a rescue plan for those who may jump or otherwise end up in the net and injure themselves in the 20-foot fall from the bridge sidewalk onto the steel net. Staff reached out to representatives from the Southern Marine Fire Department, the San Francisco Fire Department, the California Highway Patrol, and the United States Coast Guard to develop a coordinated bridge net rescue plan. The district and the Southern Marine Fire Department have agreed that the rescue training net should be constructed at the fire department's training tower in Mill Valley to facilitate the development of different rescue techniques and to aid in the training of rescue and law enforcement personnel. In August 2022, the Board of Directors approved establishment of project number 2321, Suicide Deterrent System Rescue Training Net, in the fiscal year 22-23 Bridge Division capital budget, and this project is 100% district funded. Engineering staff and its design consultant developed design and contract documents to construct the project under contract number 2022B84 Suicide Deterrent System Rescue Training Net. On October 25th last year, the district advertised this contract for construction bid. However, by the bid opening date on December 6th last year, we received no bids. Therefore, we re-advertised the contract on December 20th last year, and on the bid opening day of January 24th, we received 2 bids. The engineering staff, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program Administrator, and attorney evaluated the bid proposals. These 2 bids, one is from Valentine Corporation in amount of $487,505, and from Brownstein Construction, Inc. of Petaluma in the amount of $496,209.90. A small business enterprise contract goal has been set at 9.2%. And Valentine Corporation, which is apparent low bidder, is a SBE entity. The DBA program administrator participation of approximately 83.8% is anticipated during performance of this contract. So the 2 contract bids are higher than the district's estimate prepared last fall. Engineering staff has evaluated the bids and determined that they are reasonable and reflect the current market condition for such work. The engineering staff and attorney determined that Valentine Corporation, with the bid price of $487,505, is the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, and recommends award of contract 22B84 to Valentine Corporation. It is also recommended that a contingency in amount of $73,126 or 15% of the construction contract total price be established for contract number 22B84 in the event of unforeseen circumstances arising during construction. Staff also recommends that to fully fund the project budget be increased by $101,169 to the revised total project budget of $925,169 that will be 100% district funded. And with this, I'll be happy to answer any question the committee may have for me.
Aren't we going to miss that statement? Patty, you're muted. Down the road when we get to meet in person. Thank you, Ava. Are there any questions or comments from directors at this time? I
see three
see
hands.
Dick and I see Mike. Dick, go ahead.
Well, I guess since you didn't get any bidders before, maybe you're pleased to get two, but were you surprised you only got two bidders?
Not really. It is a quite unusual project as in it needs a good steel fabrication and steel work. But in the same time, the scope is not too big. So it's not a project that normally big contractors that experience in steel fabrication and installation would go for. But Valentine Corporation, they are quite experienced in this type of the project. So we are very happy that they participated in bidding.
And I see they're a high DBE percentage, which is great.
Yes.
And when do you anticipate this project starting and being done?
So the anticipated notice to proceed is at end of this March, and then completion in about 9 months. The main risk to the schedule for this project is how soon we can get all the materials fabricated and delivered. And because of what's going on right now in the construction business, this is quite common risk that a lot of projects encounter. So what we have done, we work with the Southern Marine Fire Department, and the way the work on this contract is scheduled, the actual field work will not start until the contractor gets all the materials delivered, because this way we will have the least interruption to the operations of the fire department.
Please don't laugh at this comment, but in theory, in 9 months, the net might be done. The important word there is might, right?
Yes.
Thank you for that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Mike, and then Sabrina.
Because of what I used to do, I'm going to ask, is there, do we know who the steel fab sub and the steel install subs are?
Valentine will be installing the steel. However, I do not remember the name of the fabricator.
Okay, so they're going to self-install the steel.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Sabrina.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Eva, for your presentation. I'm just going to add a few comments to this discussion. Specifically, I'm really impressed that this contract comes in at 83.8% SBE participation with only a goal of 9.2%. And I wanted to acknowledge the efforts of our DBE administrator, the continued efforts of Team Davenport, as well as the procurement department staff and the engineering staff for achieving that. It's no small bar, and I think that's one of the highest percentages that I've seen. So it's not a huge contract, but it is an impressive percentage, and I just wanted to say thank you. I did attend last week a couple of the small business outreach committee events, and they do a fantastic job in trying to educate the public, our small business enterprise in the area on their opportunities and how to put themselves in position to bid. And it looks like through this contract, at least, and certainly with others, that work is paying off. So again, thank you to Team Davenport on that. And I wanted to say thank you to our engineering staff and to Eva in particular. I think I and others expressed concern that this project was going to hold up the progress on the goal of getting our suicide deterrent system ready to go, and that the staff that needed to be trained in order to actually help do the important functions of doing rescues out of the net was going to be held up. And when I asked Ava about it, she was very confident that that it would rebid in short order, and we would get some successful bids through. So thank you very much, Ava, for your confidence and for making that come through. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, that concludes discussion on item number 3. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? And I'm sorry, Holly, I see your hand just went up.
No, I wanted to say something before item number 4.
Oh, lovely. Okay,
Thank you.
good deal. Anyone from the public then wishing to speak on item number 3?
We have no speakers from the public on this item.
Okay, colleagues, may I then have a motion on agenda item number 3 to approve actions relative to contract number 2022B084?
So moved.
Madam Chair, I'll move.
Thank you. We have 2, and one of them I'm assuming is a second. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please do a roll call vote.
Thank you. We're voting on item number 3, starting with Director Conway. Is absent. Dorsey is absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Grosball.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Aye.
Maston.
Aye.
Moulton Peters is absent. Parr.
Aye.
Rabbit.
Aye.
Redoni.
Aye.
Safai is absent. Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie is absent. Thier.
Aye.
Second Vice President Hill.
Yes.
First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 13 ayes.
Thank you. The motion passes. We will now move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is to approve actions relative to professional services agreement number 2011B2, design services for the Golden Gate Bridge physical suicide deterrent system with HNTB Corporation. The staff report begins on page 7, and Ava will also present this item. Before you proceed, Ava, Holly, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Garbarino. I have a potential conflict of interest, so I'll be turning off my screen and asking to be let back in when it's time. Thank you.
I'll do that. Okay, I'll put
Thank
you
you.
into a waiting room.
Ava, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under Professional Services Agreement number 2011 B2, the district retained HNTB Corporation to design and prepare construction bid documents for the Golden Gate Bridge Physical Suicide Deterrent System project. Under 6th amendment to this PSA, the district retained HNTB Corporation to design the rescue training net to be installed on the training tower at the Southern Marine Fire Department facility in Mill Valley. Consistent with the established practice, the administration and management of the suicide deterrent system rescue net construction will require that the design consultant provide engineering support services during construction of this project. Engineering staff has negotiated with HNTB Corporation and not to exceed price of $66,000 for engineering support services during the construction period. And staff determined that this price is reasonable based on the scope of work with historic costs for engineering support services provided by consultants on other similar projects, and that the costs are consistent with HNTB's cost for its design services. HNTB will be compensated for actual time expended and expenses incurred plus a fixed fee up to the authorized not to exceed amount. Staff recommends that the Building and Operating Committee recommend to the Board of Directors that Board of Directors authorize the execution of the first addendum to the 6th amendment with PSA with HNTB Corporation as presented in the staff report under agenda item number 4. Staff also recommends that the contingency for this PSA addendum in the amount of $6,600 or 10% of the addendum amount be established to provide budget for any additional or change scope that may develop while work progresses. So with this, I'll be happy to answer the committee questions.
Thank you, Ava, for that presentation. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues, directors at this time? Seeing none, that concludes the discussion on item number 4. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this item?
We have no speakers for this item.
Thank you, Amaret. Colleagues, may I then have a motion on agenda item number 4 to approve of actions relative to professional services agreement number 2011B2.
I see Director Parr's hand raised.
Great. May I?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please do a roll call vote.
Thank you. We're voting on item number 4 with the first and second, starting with Director Conroy, who's absent. Dorsey is absent. Garbarino,
Aye.
Giudice,
Yes.
Grosbol,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Aye.
Maston,
Aye.
Moulton Peters is absent. Parr,
Aye.
Rabbit,
Aye.
Redoni,
Aye.
Safai is absent. Snyder,
Aye.
Stephanie is absent. Thier is absent. Second Vice President Hill,
Yes.
First Vice President Cochran,
Yes.
and President Tirio.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 12 ayes.
Thank you. That item passes. We will now move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is to approve actions relative to award of contract number 2022B-104, Golden Gate Bridge Toll Plaza Administration Building Door and Window Rehabilitation to Pinguelo Construction. The staff report begins on page 11, and Ava will present this item as well. Ava, please begin.
Thank you, Chair Garbarino. The Toll Plaza Administration Building is a location where district's administration's offices are located. And also, this is the place where the district board of directors meetings take place. So in preparation for the resumption of in-person public meetings and employees returning to the office, engineering staff and its consultant perform assessments of the airflow in the Toll Plaza Administration Building, as well as the existing heating and ventilation systems, and determine that improvement should be made to reduce the potential for buildup of airborne virus concentrations. Staff determined that one method to improve airflow is to retrofit a number of the existing fixed window glass panels with operable window glass panels. In addition, the existing administration building front automatic sliding doors have to be replaced because they have reached their useful life and are subject to frequent malfunctioning. Engineering has developed a construction contract number 2022B-104, Golden Gate Bridge Toll Plaza Administration Building Door and Window Rehabilitation, which involves the following work: retrofitting designated fixed window glass panels with operable glass panels, removing and replacing broken existing cracked glass panels, and removing and replacing the existing automatic sliding front doors with new automatic front doors. The contract was advertised for bids on December 6, 2022, and on January 10th, 2 bids were received. One of them was from Pinguelo Construction of Fairfield, and another one was from Galleria Incorporated DB Trico Construction. One note here that, as you can see in my report, Pinguelo, which is apparent low bidder came much lower than the second one. So the engineering staff, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program Administrator and attorney have evaluated the bids. An SBE contract specific goal of 9.6% was established for this contract. Pinguelo Construction is a DBE. The DBE program administrator has determined that SBE participation of approximately 55.9%, including 39.5% DBE participation, is projected during the performance of this contract. The engineering staff and attorney determined that Pinguelo Construction, with a bid price of $220,000, is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder and recommends award of contract 2022 B104 to Pinguelo Construction. It is also recommended that contingency amount of $33,000 or 15% of the construction contract's total price be established for this contract in the event of unforeseen circumstances arising during construction. The project number 2214 is included. The title of the project is Facilities Ventilation Assessment Rehabilitation Improvement Project, is included in the fiscal year 22-23 District Division capital budget in the amount of $2,570,000 and is 100% district funded. The project 2214 is a district-wide project, and what's before you today is the first of multiple phases of this project. There are sufficient funds in project 2214 budget to finance the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge, Toll Plaza Administration, Building Door and Window Rehabilitation phase of project 2214. So with this, I'll be happy to answer any questions the committee may have for me.
Thank you, Eva, for this presentation as well. Are there any questions or comments from directors at this time? And I see Sabrina and Mike. Sabrina, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And thank you again, Eva, for this report. I have a couple of questions. First, is this contract subject to Public Works law?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And was there an engineer's estimate for the cost covering this scope?
Yes. And actually, the estimate that we received from Pinguelo came lower than what we projected, not much lower, but so we consider this to be a good price.
Okay. I have some concerns. When you look at the numbers here, for example, of the contract that was awarded earlier today, the first and second low bidders came within about 21,000 of each other. This item, the bids are separated by almost $170,000. This contract is almost $100,000 less than that earlier contract. The Pinguino bid is 43% lower than Trico. And now I'm hearing that Pinguino is actually bidding lower than the engineer's estimate. So there are a number of flags that come up for me with regard to that. I know contractors are doing or can do, various things to try to win awards. But when I see an expanse like this between two contracts, and then you tell me that Pinguino's bid was below the estimated amount by our own engineering staff, and the playing field should be level with regard to Public Works law and prevailing wages and benefits, et cetera. I just don't see how those two bids, that vast expanse between the amounts of those two bids, can pencil out. Do you have any information that you can share with me to help me understand why that might be the case and why, in fact, Pinguino is the appropriate bid to go for. In this case, vast expanses like that in bid prices can lead to other concerns or other well, it certainly creates other concerns for me, and indicates that possibly one contractor may be cutting corners. So that's just a possibility in terms of the
Right.
And I
work
see
that I've seen and things that have happened. So can you share some information as to how to explain those two and why we are selecting Pinguino over Trico?
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sabrina. And I
So-
see that Dennis has his hand raised as well. Go ahead, Ava.
So as I mentioned, the engineer's estimate wasn't exactly the price proposed by Pinguelo, but it's very close. So there's no disparity between engineer's estimate and Pinguelo's bid proposal. And Pinguelo is a really contractor who specializes in glazing, and it's also a general contractor. And they do commercial and residential projects like this. So there is no doubt about the experience and skills in doing the projects that they submitted a bid for. With respect to the second high price, we've seen, especially in this market environment, we've seen quite a disparity in bid proposals. So one reason is that the second bidder came so much higher. Maybe it's because they really not, they consider that there is not too much interest right now in doing projects like this. So, since this is a closed bid proposal, nobody knows what the competitor is doing. And fortunately, Pinguelo came with much better price proposal.
If I
Thank
could
you.
add a
As
little
a
bit.
follow-up to that, could I just and maybe Dennis, you're going to address this, but if this is in fact a public work, then certified payrolls will be collected. And I would just ask that the certified payrolls and all of the documents regarding the performance of this contractor be just be watched. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
If I may add, and thank you for that follow-up, Sabrina, because Ava's team does a fantastic job on prevailing wage. I dare say better than any agency in the Bay Area. They interview the actual workers in the appropriate language of the workers, if necessary, to determine that what the workers are paid matches the documents that are submitted to the district. From a public policy perspective, though, the choices before the board on a bid such as this are limited. Staff has determined that this firm is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. They've accomplished similar work elsewhere. In fact, it's their expertise. And so the choices for the board is either to award the contract or to reject all bids. And staff strongly recommends that you move forward and award as Ava has presented to you here today. But staff, as they always do, will do a very thorough job on prevailing wage determinations and to ensure that all the employees are paid the requisite amounts. Thank you.
Thank you for those additional comments, Dennis. I have complete faith in the engineering department. It is, though, I think important for me to, as a board member, to ask these questions. And we certainly want to remain above board with everything that we do. And I have, as I said, I've had full faith in Eva and her staff. But this kind of disparity, invites a question. So thank you very much for your diligence and for the great work that you do, Eva, and for the monitoring that I know that takes place. Thank you. And I will be supporting the recommendation of staff. Thank you.
Thank you all. And Mike, I see your hand is no longer raised.
That's correct. Director Hernandez had my doubts and asked my questions.
Okay. So that concludes discussion on item number 5. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers for this item.
Colleagues, may I have a motion on agenda item number 5 to approve of actions relative to contract number 2022 B104? Everyone's being a little shy this morning.
Move, Rabbit. Move.
Thank you. And I'm assuming there's a second out there in both.
Second.
Second. Great. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please do a roll call vote.
Thank you. Voting on item number 5, starting with Director Conroy is absent. Dorsey is absent. Garbarino,
Aye.
Giudice,
Yes.
Roseball,
Just so it's not unanimous, no.
Maston.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Hernandez, going back to Hernandez.
Aye.
Thank you. And then Maston was an aye. Moulton Peters is absent. Parr,
Aye.
Rabbit,
Aye.
Verdoni,
Aye.
Safai is absent. Snyder,
Aye.
Stephanie is absent. Thier,
Aye.
Second Vice President Hill,
Yes.
First Vice President Cochran,
Yes.
and President Terrio.
Oh, I wouldn't want Director Grossball to feel lonely, so no.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. That's 11 ayes and 2 noes.
Thank you. The motion passes. We will now move on to item number 6 on our agenda, which is to approve actions relative to professional services agreement number 2018B-075, Golden Gate Bridge Physical Suicide Deterrent System and Wind Retrofit Suicide Deterrent Net System Fabrication Shop Inspection Services with David Engineering. The staff report begins on page 15, and Ava is here once again, has the floor. Go ahead, continue presenting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As part of the construction management and administration of the physical suicide deterrent project construction, the district has retained services of David Engineering LLC of Chicago, Illinois. This consultant was retained to perform quality control inspections at the Carlstall facility near Chicago, where the net system for the project is being fabricated. As previously reported to the committee, the contractor has not progressed the work as required by the contract. As a result of the delay in construction completion, engineering staff and consultant support services costs have been projected to increase. Of immediate concern now is the budget for the professional services agreement with David Engineering. The original professional services agreement price was established based on an estimated 24 months of the fabrication period. Due to the contractor's delays in performing field verifications and development of net system fabrication drawings, the fabrication period and corresponding inspection period have been extended. Today, the net fabricator has completed fabrication of approximately 80% of the total net quantity. Based on the amount of the remaining net fabrication, the current fabrication production rates, and the construction contractor's schedule, engineering staff has estimated that the fabrication should be completed by the end of 2023, which is not as previously anticipated by March 2023. So this additional extension of David Engineering Services requires an increase in the consultant professional services agreement amount. Staff requested and David Engineering has provided a cost proposal in the amount of $94,000 to continue performing the requested shop quality assurance inspection services through December 2023. Staff has reviewed the proposed cost and found it to be reasonable in terms of David Engineering budgeted labor hours to perform the additional scope of services requested by the district, and to be consistent with David Engineering's audited labor and overhead billing rates. Staff recommends that the Building and Operating Committee recommend that the Board of Directors authorize the execution of the 7th Amendment to Professional Services Agreement with David Engineering in a not to exceed amount of $94,000 to perform the additional quality assurance inspection services at the Suicide Deterrent Net System Fabrication Facility as described in the staff report under agenda item number 6. The District Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program Administrator has verified that the work under the 7th Amendment includes 100% DBE participation because David Engineering is a DBE certified company. David Engineering will be compensated for actual time expended and expenses incurred plus a fixed fee for the not to exceed authorized amount. To issue the proposed 7th amendment, a $94,000 increase in the fiscal year 22-23 Bridge Division capital budget for the project funded with 100% with district reserves is required. This would increase the total project budget to $215,032,868. And with this, I'll be happy to answer any question the committee may have for me.
Thank you, Ava, for this presentation as well. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues on this item? And I see Bert. Bert, go right ahead. And then Chris.
Yeah, just a simple question, asking about the wind retrofit. I don't know if this fits within there or not, but I wanted to find out if the harmonic clips, what the status is relative to the fact we had a 75-mile-an-hour winds this week on the bridge. Can you just mention that?
Yes, so it took quite a time for the contractor for the basically develop the proper samples of the clips. And also there was slight delay to selecting the proper color. But right now we have approved the samples and the contractor is proceeding with the fabrication of the initial amount. This may still take couple months before we see any activity on the bridge.
Okay, thank you. I hope nobody heard harmonics yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Ava. Chris.
Hi, thanks. I really appreciate the report, the whole thing from top to bottom. But so this increase, is it due? We need to extend it because they're not completing it in a timely fashion. And that's essentially what you're saying. And if that is the case, is there any way to recoup that cost from the said contractor that's been kind of a challenge to work with?
So we are, as you very much aware, we are in a dispute with the prime contractor. And we have drastically different between us and the contractor, different opinion about causes of this delay. And we maintain that this is contractor's fault. And under the contract, they are obligated to pay to the district liquidated damages in case the delays are caused by the contractor. So that's basically our current position.
I guess to follow up, does that mean, I mean, would the recoup come through the LDs or is there, I mean, I know this is a contract with a separate company and it's not their fault that the construction is delayed. Is that, so is it kind of two separate things or?
I think in situations like this, an agency may assess the actions that the agency wants to take against the contractor. But as far as the contract language right now, through the contract, the only action we can take is the liquidated damages. However, if there is determination and decision of the board that we should take any additional steps, we will follow with the appropriate actions.
I might add, at this juncture, it does appear the delay is caused by the prime contractor, not the fabricator of the net.
That's correct.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ava. That concludes discussion on item number 6. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
Oh, we have no speakers for this item.
Thank you, Amaret. Colleagues, may I have a motion on agenda item number 6 to approve actions relative to contract number 2018 B075?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please do a roll call vote.
Thank you. Voting on item number 6 with the first and second, starting with Director Conroy, who's absent. Dorsey is absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Grosboll.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Maston.
Aye.
Moulton Peters is absent. Parr.
Aye.
Rabbit.
Aye.
Rodoni.
Aye.
Safai is absent. Snyder.
Aye.
Stephanie is absent. Thier.
Aye.
Second Vice President Hill.
yes,
First Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
And President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. That's 13-9.
Thank you. The motion passes. We will now move on to item number 7, which is an informational report on the 1-year update on implementation of bicycle safety recommendation. The staff report begins on page 23, and Deputy General Manager of Bridge Division, David Rivera, is here to present the report. David, please begin your report.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair Garbarino and members of the committee. My name is David Rivera, DGM Bridge Division. So before you is the 1-year update on implementation of the bicycle safety recommendation. The recommendation is the report is provided for informational purposes and does not require any action. The purpose of this report is to provide the Board of Directors with a 1-year update regarding implementation of the bike safety recommendations and a summary of data collected on bike accidents on the bridge. Summary: at its meeting on November 19, 2021, the Golden Gate Bridge Board of Directors approve these actions. Number 1, adopt a maximum speed limit for bicycles on the bridge, allow electric bikes on bridge sidewalks, clarify the pedestrian type rolling conveyances are prohibited on bridge sidewalks, and establish the district bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee. Additional items that did not require formal board action but were recommended to improve safety conditions for the bridge sidewalks were: continue use of signage and pavement markings to delineate space between bicycles and pedestrians on the east sidewalk, install changeable directional wayfinding signage for cyclists at major bridge approaches. Number 3, continue to use radar speed advisory signage for cyclists on the bridge sidewalks, and install additional radar speed advisory signs on the downhill approaches to the narrow sidewalk sections at the North Anchorage House. 4, add path narrow signage, object markers, and pavement markings, along with 5-mile-an-hour advisory speed signage on the approaches to the narrow sidewalk sections at the North Anchorage housing. And 5, install additional high wind advisory signage and establish a standard operating procedure to allow cyclists use of the east sidewalk during high wind events. Number 6, create a weather station feed to the district's website to advise cyclists of current wind conditions on the bridge. And number 7, to create a sidewalk safety incident self-reporting tool on the district's website to collect additional information and a more complete accounting of sidewalk safety issues. 11 of the bicycle safety recommendations have been implemented. Additionally, a safety incident self-reporting tool along with wind advisory information has been added to the district's website. Those are in some separate attachments which are attached to the report. I could also, if it's not too much, we could show that as well when we get to that, both the district's website where we have the accident reporting and actually the wind advisory. Moving on to the bicycle accident data. Monthly bicycle incident data is summarized and published in the report of the general manager to the board. District staff is notified of bicycle accidents either because the accident requires a district response or because the accident was reported on the district's new online sidewalk safety incident self-reporting tool. The bike accidents reported to staff fall under several categories. These categories include solo bike incidents, bicycle versus bicycle, bicycle versus pedestrians, bicycles versus automobile, and other. The majority of bike accidents consist of solo bike accidents. Subsequent to allowing class 1, 2, and 3 electric bicycles or e-bikes and implementing a 15 miles per hour speed limit, there were 14 bicycle accidents on bridge sidewalks in 2022 that required district response. 7 accidents were on the east sidewalk and 7 accidents were on the west sidewalk. There were 6 incidents in which injured bicyclists were transported to a local hospital due to injuries. Out of the 14 accidents, 2 of these involved e-bikes. In addition, over this same time period, the district was notified of 5 bicycle accidents through submissions to the district's new online sidewalk safety incident self-reporting tool. 4 of these incidents were on bridge sidewalks. 3 of the accidents were on the west sidewalk and 1 occurred on the east sidewalk. 2 of the accidents involved e-bikes. These incidents were not reported to staff other than through the district's website. In reviewing data from previous years regarding bike accidents on the bridge sidewalks, the number of incidents have fluctuated. This data includes bicycle accidents on bridge sidewalks and surrounding areas under the district's jurisdiction. In 2021, there were 15 incident reports generated. In 2020, there were 31 incidents. And in 2019, there were 48 incidents. Due to the impacts of COVID-19 from 2020 to present day, bicycle riding and tourism on the bridge initially decreased, but is slowly increasing to pre-pandemic levels. The implementation and posting of speed advisory signs along with pavement markings and changeable direction wayfinding signage has provided safety information to all bicyclists riding across the bridge. The path narrow signage has provided bicyclists safety information when approaching the North Anchorage House. However, it is still too early in the bicycle accident data collection process to reach a conclusion as to whether the speeds of bicyclists has been affected by the safety measures. Staff will continue to review and evaluate the district's bicycle accident data. The recommendations implemented from ordinance number 2021-001 are intended to optimize the utility of the infrastructure available and to maximize the safety of the sidewalk conditions for all users to the extent possible. Further, the district has established a pedestrian and bicycle advisory committee, PBAC, that meets quarterly and is actively engaged in these matters. PBAC held its first meeting on October 19th of 2022, and currently there are 15 members. Fiscal impact. There is no fiscal impact associated with this report. Thank you all. This concludes my presentation. I am available to answer any questions or concerns.
Thank you, David, for your presentation. Dennis, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, just that we're committed to having a safe experience for all bridge users on the sidewalk and on the roadway. We're very appreciative of the actions that the board took and the safety measures we have in place. And we'll continue to monitor things with the passage of time and come back periodically to update the board and also to make additional recommendations as they may be appropriate. Thank you.
Great. And I see I have 2 hands up regarding questions or comments from my colleagues, 3 now. Bert, Mike, and then Dick.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. A while ago, we had a situation of a wind speed, and we had quite a small woman. The direction was to ride on the west side, but it was dangerous for her. Did we manage to have a way where you got a variability of the cyclist's ability if evolved, so it isn't just a singular yes or no? And the second question I've got is, I see the terms incident and accident sort of randomly moving all the way along. Is there a difference between the two? I've studied them, and we probably ought to just use one if it's there, because it leaves a little bit of confusion what it is. There's one identifying fault and the other not, something like that. Thank you.
I'll answer the first and let Dave answer the second. The first is we have made changes, Director Hill. This past week, as you earlier noted with a prior question of our chief engineer, that we had exceptional winds. And when we had those exceptional winds, we actually kept the west sidewalk closed and we had bicyclists use the east side because the wind was coming out of the west. And so bicyclists were much more exposed. So we have made a change based on comments from the public and directors. So on very exceptionally windy days, we keep bicyclists on the east side, which is more protected from the prevailing westerly winds.
But is there a range between the size of the bicyclist relative to that, or is it singular still?
No, we don't assess skills of bicyclists. What we do is based on certain wind speeds now, and it's an evolving thing. We make a decision out of an abundance of caution to keep bikes on the east side when it's exceptionally windy, because it's more challenging for bicyclists of any size to navigate the west sidewalk. But we do not identify bicycles by size and direct them one way or the other. We merely have standardized protocols that we're putting in place to shift all bicyclists to the east sidewalk when there's exceptionally strong winds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, David and Michael.
Yes, thank you, Chair Garbarino. A couple of things coming out of recent experience. It was a little tricky finding my way to the page for wind on the district's website, but once I was there, it really is good. And so I'm happy it's there, and it seems extremely useful. Also, the indicator signs as to which side of the bridge to ride on, they're not optimal, but they have been useful. I've been grateful for them a couple of times recently. I do note, however, that I've heard some complaints about their being incorrect at times. And in fact, if you look at page 27 of the report, or page 5 of 14 of the particular set of things, the photo for the Northwest Bike Gate in Sausalito shows the gate closed, but that you're supposed to ride on that side of the bridge. And the gate is not usually closed when you're supposed to ride on that side of the bridge. It can be on the other side, but not on that one. So there's a contradiction in the picture there. And maybe there's an explanation for it, but that certainly doesn't jibe with my experience of riding on the bridge. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Dick?
I'm just curious, and it may be too early. Have any of the, of course, I deferred to Mike and Bert on bicycle issues, but have any of the Marin or North Bay or San Francisco biking groups provided any comments on the current status?
So let me address three things, Director Grosball. First, let me come back to Director Hill. You asked a question about the difference between incidents and accidents. So when the sergeant's office, when there's a formal incident report, we treat it as an accident. So that hopefully will explain that, and we categorize it as an accident. And sometimes there's incidents that are reported on the website, which may be solo, but not necessarily considered an accident. So if it's a little confusion, we can look at that and kind of address that in the future. So thanks for pointing that out. As far as to President Theriault, when you look at the attachment, it's for the Northwest Bike Gate in Sausalito, the one I'm looking at. It was actually attachment number 1. The sign, when you look at the picture, it's modeling correct, or it's displayed correctly, because what we're showing is the red X is meaning that the west side is closed and you have to go to the east side and you have to go underneath. I know it looks a little confusing, but from that picture, it should be that way. And then back to Director Grosball, we have been in contact with the Marin Bike Coalition, and we do keep them abreast. Actually, I go out my way to send them emails about if we have some, if there's anything coming up, whether it's a safety feature. We have heard from them. And when we have the PBAC committee, we're hopeful that some of that information gets disseminated to both bike groups in Marin and San Francisco.
If I may add, the bike groups in San Francisco and Marin did endorse the changes that we made, and they are supportive of them. They're both active participants in the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. They both have expressed interest, though, in seeing the signage that we put out there quickly that Director Theriault or President Theriault highlighted be ultimately replaced with something long-term with more information, but they're appreciative of the immediate short-term effort to have that in place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you all. Holly?
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to comment on how much I appreciate this work. I wanted to thank David Rivera and the entire staff. I think it's critical that we keep looking at measures that we can to ensure pedestrian and bicycle safety. I love the self-reporting tool on the district's website. I think that will help a lot. That will save riders and pedestrians from spending a while trying to figure out who to talk to and which phone number to call. So I think that's brilliant. Also, I really like the speed signs so that people could see exactly how fast they're going. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Holly. And Mike, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, it's not really the question, but to Mr. Rivera, he knows I'm out there checking out what's going on the bridge. I ran into him standing in front of that very section of cable, watching the ironworkers tent it for refinish on one of my bike rides recently. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. That concludes discussion on item number 7. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We do. We have one speaker for this item, and Mr. Pilpel would like to speak. David, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. And I'm sorry, I apologize. I got a call wait a few minutes ago, and coming back, I may not have been able to mute fast enough. So 2 brief points here. Good report. I think it would be great to have this at the next PBAC meeting. I found it helpful and informative. And I'm thinking that maybe this should be an annual report, either this committee or transportation, either way, or in the general manager's report somewhere. Anyway, hopefully with a few more statistics in the future, and perhaps an annual report from PBAC and PBAC's recommendations on various matters related to bicycle safety on the bridge. Anyway, again, very helpful. Thanks for listening.
No action is required for item number 7. And thank you, Mr. Pilpel. So we will continue on to item number 8, which is an informational monthly report from board appointees on the Marin-Sonoma Area Rail Transit Board. And I'll start off with this wonderful picture. This is not of SMART, but of the bridge, and it was done by a resident at Cedars, a home for the developmentally disabled. And it's a fabulous calendar. I'm going to save it and pass it next month to whomever would like to hold on to this treasure when we get to meet in person. I will start, but I'd love to have my colleagues on the SMART board also jump in. There had been a number of challenges, as we've all faced, during the last month or so with regards to the rain. Highway 37 and 101 flooded in many areas and impacted both passenger and freight service. And I'll take note that at our board meeting of January 18th, Chair Rabbit profusely thanked the staff for their hard work during the recent heavy rains, rightly so. I will also note that ridership is, we're very proud to say, second highest in the Bay Area in terms of returning post-COVID. Sadly, another bit of good news, there's February, difficult to say, marketing campaigns, which means the use of the SMART train to get yourselves to your favorite brewery in Sonoma and Marin counties. So please avail yourselves of that. And sadly, there was a death recently. I believe it was in Rohnert Park on the rail due to a driver having crossed right through the guard. My final item is property purchase. I know, David, you talked about this last month. I don't know if you want to highlight that, or Barb, if you have anything you would like to add.
Well, David was on a plane last at the February 15th board meeting. But at the February 15th board meeting, we excitedly approved a slate for the advisory committee. the advisory committee the Citizens Advisory Committee had been the way it was for a long time, and we had quite an arduous process. We had an ad hoc committee of the board that read, I believe, 45 different applications. You can see all of this on the website. There's a list of the persons that were chosen and also what their vita looks like. It was a very thoughtful, and I think it turned out great. I mean, there's a great diversity on that Citizens Advisory Committee now. We also spent some time doing just a validation of where we were headed. It's time to do that. General Manager Cummins put together a beautiful presentation, which is also on the website, sort of doing the pros and cons of the Eastern movement toward 37, as well as the Northern movement toward Cloverdale and Healdsburg. It was not a vote, but there was absolutely no dissension on the board that we needed to stay the course, and we gave a thumbs up to continuing heading north to Cloverdale and on as supported by the sales tax measure. That doesn't mean that we won't continue to try to fund and be an integral part of the Highway 37 piece. There are some interesting puzzle pieces that were put together in General Manager Cummins' presentation that sort of help see what the funding we anticipate would be. We care a lot about equity. Sabrina would be interested in seeing the presentation, I think, as chair of our equity committee. What we discovered in the presentation about going north to Cloverdale is that it becomes an equity issue based on education and income and housing and where people can afford to live and where we need to help them afford to get where they work. So it was interesting. Those of you that are from the north know that at the Jennings crossing at Jennings Street in Santa Rosa, there has been a difference of opinion over time about whether there should be an at-grade crossing at Jennings or whether there should be an overcrossing. So the city of Santa Rosa and SMART are sponsoring a meeting March 2nd. Those of you that are in that area might want to tune into that meeting. It will be on Zoom, and again, it's on the website how you will do that. Last but not least, if you click onto the board meeting, you'll see a beautiful Valentine's Day video that the staff put together for all of us. So thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, dear Barb. David, did you want to add anything?
I think that covered everything. Appreciate it. Things are moving in a good direction. Appreciate all the work by SMART staff and my fellow colleagues serving as directors.
Thank you, David. Thanks again, Barb. Are there any board members who have comments or questions regarding the SMART report? Seeing none, that concludes discussion on item number 8. But before we move on, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers for this item.
No action again is required for item number 8. So we'll continue on to item number 9, the status report on engineering projects. Begins on page 39, and Ava will present her report. Ava, please proceed.
Chair Garbarino, members of the committee, my written report is before you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have for me.
Thank you, Ava. Colleagues, are there any questions on the engineering report? Seeing none, and while no action is required on item number 9, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? Or address the committee under item number 10, sorry.
That's okay. We do have a speaker. David Pilpel would like to comment on item number 9. David, are you still with us?
I am.
Thank you. Go ahead on item number 9.
Great, thanks. So once again, I think it would be helpful to have maps and photos in staff reports where appropriate. I didn't comment earlier on some of the items, but for example, the window replacement project at the toll plaza might be nice to see some photos of windows that need work. For the elevator project that I think there's a fair amount of interest in, and perhaps others too, it would be nice to have the substantial completion date projected included in the engineering status report, even if that is subject to change, just knowing that the substantial completion date for the elevator is sometime in March, April, May this year, whatever that date is, I think would be of interest. And finally, on page 32 of the report, page 70 of the packet, it would be nice to see some photos of the Alexander Avenue slide removal project. That seems like a relatively discrete but pretty important project. And perhaps if staff has any photos that could be shared either next month or even tomorrow, that would be informative. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Pilpel. And we've reached the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Still
So
shy.
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Hearing no objections, this concludes the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee. Thank you, colleagues.